In a season that has been like none other, Taylor Heinicke gave us one more reason to never forget this year. From countless opportunities stripped away from injury to literally being signed by Washington while finishing his degree, the story of Taylor Heinicke is nuts. First, I'd like to acknowledge that the majority of the people who watch our videos aren't subscribed to the channel. Help us out by subscribing and joining us on our way to 100K because it's coming fast and you don't want to miss your opportunity to enlist in the J&D Army. Taylor Heinicke was born on March 15, 1993 in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Heinicke played football at Collins High School in Suwanee, Georgia. As a junior, he was named All-State. Heinicke truly broke out as a senior, going on to be named Old Spice Player of the Year in Georgia. He had a record season, passing for 4,218 yards, the second most in state history, and 44 touchdowns, the third most in state history. Both were Gwinnett County single-season records. He added 354 yards and a pair of touchdowns rushing. After the conclusion of his senior year, Heinicke was invited to play at the North-South All-Star Football Classic. He dominated in the contest, passing for 254 yards and 3 touchdowns before being named MVP. Heinicke also starred in The Ride, a reality show about under-the-radar high school quarterbacks fighting for a spot in the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. In 2011, Heinicke accepted a scholarship to play football at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. He became the starter in his first season at ODU, leading the Monarchs to a 10-3 record in the CAA before they lost in the second round of the FCS playoffs, finishing the season as the number 10 team in the nation. Heinicke finished the year with 2,385 yards and 25 touchdowns to a single interception. He added 363 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. Heinicke was named an All-American, third-team All-CAA, and the National Performer of the Year. Heinicke exploded in his second season at ODU, recording an FCS record 5,076 yards, along with 44 touchdowns to 14 interceptions and 270 yards and 11 touchdowns rushing. That wasn't the only record he broke though. Heinicke passed for a Division I record, 730 yards against New Hampshire on the year. 730 yards. That's wild. He went on to be named an All-American and awarded the CAA Offensive Player of the Year, Walter Payton Award, and the Dudley Award. ODU went 11-2 before falling in the playoffs and were the number 6 team in the country. ODU had a different schedule the following season as an independent, beginning their process to the Conference USA. Heinicke led the Monarchs to an 8-4 record behind 4,022 yards and 33 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, plus 348 yards and 5 touchdowns rushing. During the year, he became only the 18th Division I quarterback to pass for 10,000 career yards and rush for 1,000. In his senior season, Heinicke led ODU to a 6-6 record in its first season in Conference USA. He passed for 3,476 yards and 30 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. Heinicke also rushed for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. Heinicke went undrafted at the 2015 NFL Draft before signing as an undrafted free agent with the Minnesota Vikings. He spent 2 seasons injured off and on and spending time on the active roster before he was ultimately released. He went on to sign with the New England Patriots practice squad, where he lasted a few weeks before being signed to the Houston Texans practice squad. In Houston, Heinicke finally got his big shot. He was brought up to the active roster after an injury to Tom Savage, but remained a backup to TJ Yates. Well, after Yates suffered a possible concussion, it was time for Heinicke to step in. In his first chance on an NFL field, Heinicke completed his first career pass, but he suffered a concussion, ending his shot before it had even truly begun. Heinicke was released that following offseason before getting claimed by the Carolina Panthers. He ended up appearing in 6 games throughout the season, and after Cam Newton went down with a shoulder injury, Heinicke actually took over as the starter in Week 16. He was finally getting his big chance and passed for 274 yards and a touchdown to 3 interceptions. Not the best performance, but in the game, he suffered an elbow injury that landed him on injured reserve. Another opportunity lost to injury. After being cut by the Panthers, Heinicke landed in the XFL on the St. Louis Battlehawks. He never saw the field though. Finally, on December 8th, yes, like a month ago, Heinicke signed with Washington on the practice squad. Before being signed, he was actually working on finishing his degree at ODU, but quickly had to put school aside after being promoted to the active roster. He appeared in his first game for Washington in Week 16 in relief of Dwayne Haskins right before Haskins was released. Heinicke was impressive, passing for 137 yards and a touchdown. Of course, that ended up making him the backup to the returner Alex Smith in Week 17, before Smith was unable to suit up for Washington in its wildcard game, thrusting Heinicke into the spotlight. Going up against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Heinicke and Washington somehow narrowly lost 31-23. Regardless of the outcome, Heinicke delivered a performance of a lifetime. He did everything, passing for 306 yards and a touchdown to an interception, and he added 46 yards and a touchdown rushing. Heinicke saw the field incredibly well and was even able to escape pressure, giving us a highlight reel play. And honestly, as a Washington fan, I can assure you that I will be playing on repeat for the rest of my life. And oh yeah, this Taylor Heinicke gave Washington promise when it needed it most. Heinicke is now an unrestricted free agent, but did say post-game he would love to stay in Washington to play under Ron Rivera. There is a lot of uncertainty in the future for Heinicke, but one thing is for sure. He showed us that he deserves a shot. Thanks for watching. If you love J&D Productions, check out J&D Hoops, where we recently uploaded our first video. Go subscribe and hit that notifications bell, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter for more J&D. We read all of our DMs and love hearing what you have to say.